Hello, world. Welcome to the OG Top Podcast. This is your host, Tyrone Dawson. Today is Monday, December the 18th. The time right now is 9:15 a.m. It's a rainy day. I'm located in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm doing deliveries, drop-off all week. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Christmas. But today on this episode, we're going to talk about a discovery in the basement that a kid found. And it was gruesome to him, and it was about his dad. Decades after his dad disappeared, a man made faithfully discovery in his basement. In 1961, George Carell disappeared from his Long Island home, and according to his family, he was never to be seen again. It was a mystery that haunted George's 4 kids, who desperately hoped that one day they would get closure. But as the decades passed with no sign of their dad, the hope begins to dwindle. Then, after 60 years after George had vanished, his youngest son, Mike, made a shocking discovery in the basement of his father's family home. Guys, I love these type of stories. When it comes to mysteries, jail, murders, and the solving of the case, I'm all in with this. There was nothing in George's past to suggest that he become the focus of the decade-long misery after fighting in the war. In the war, he had settled in the Long Grove, Long Island. There he lived in a little house on a suburban road named Olivia Street. It seemed like it was pretty much and he had also made it. George has grown his family too, with his wife Deborah, his 4 children, Patricia, Jane, Stephen, and Mike, and the Carell kids. We all were family, a small family in 1961. The elder Patrice was 9 years old, while the youngest Mike was less than 1 year old. They were just babies, really too young for the life-defining change that would soon hit them soon. In many years, in 1961 was a year to remember. President John F. Kennedy was inaugurated as the United States 35th president in January. Just a few months later, in April, Soviet Yamins became the first human to travel into space. It was an era of prosperity in the U.S., but not everyone was having a good time. In 1961, George apparently disappeared from his family, never to return again, and all that the man left in his wakes of a trial was an unanswered question. He has been having an affair and run off with another woman. Was he tired of his manipulation, domestic life, or was something else more in this situation that was playing out? After George went missing, Deborah apparently told the kids that their father has left the house to buy cigarettes one night and had never came home. Mysteries thought he had forgotten to take his wallet, and his son Mike, who was just 8 years old at the time of his dad's alleged disappearance, never quite bought this explanation. So little Mike wasn't going for it. Mike was like, man, I'm 1 year old. I'm less than 1. And you're telling me my dad never come home? So his mind is going back and forth over the years as he got older. And he's wondering, where's my dad? What happened? So 60 years later, he did his own investigation. But while they dug their moms with questions, Mike and his siblings got little in the way of answers from Deborah. Revealing his mom's recollections to talk about his supposedly missing dad, Mike explained to the New York Post, "I was also told don't ask. So I stopped asking," Lil Mike said. "Some things were just meant to be kept under the rug," he said. In the meantime, rumors ran rapidly amongst Curls. Some relatives reportedly believed that George had fled with his other family and traveled to Korea. Then more misery stories apparently suggested that George was dead and buried beneath the family basement. It was being constructed around the time of his vanished. So the time fit, but it seems unlikely. Even stranger, it was later alleged that no one has filed a missing report on this person in the wake of George's departure. That meant no police force has been looking for him at all. In the years that followed, his family slowly began to move on, despite the many unanswered questions they had about George's whereabouts. Then, not long after George had vanished, a man called Richard Darrells moved into the Curls family home. God, so now what they're trying to say, after Dad was missing, some man automatically moved in. Guys, you know how this goes down. When a man wants what you have, he will take you out. He will end up into the family like he's a new person, but all along, he's the cause of your father's death. This is what it sounds like to me. He became Deborah's second husband, and the pair will welcome a baby boy together. Yet this wasn't a happy ending for the moms of the five, as her marriage to Richard would eventually fall apart. It was another unrevealed for the Curl kids. Deborah filed for divorce from Richard in 1983. She apparently suspected that he had been unfaithful to her, and at some point in the late 1970s, she had asked him to pack his bags and move out. Another father figure was vanished from the Curl kids' lives, although this time they were at least able to stay in touch with him. After his divorce from Deborah, Richard reportedly moved to Mexico. He also remarried. However, Fox 5 obtained court records that allegedly revealed his second wife requested a temporary protection order against Richard in 2000, the year 2000. Before their separation, had something more suggested been going on in Deborah's marriage too. And did he had anything to do with George's disappearance? As the years passed, however, Deborah apparently maintained her therapy that George had abandoned the kids. So they stopped asking questions for a while. They really wasn't much to talk about. Her son Steve told WABC in 2018, but we became curious as adults to know where about and what happened with the disappearance of our dad. Deborah unfortunately passed away in 1998, but Mike has pursued the Curls family home on Olivia Street before her death. He had lived there for almost 2 decades. In fact, before he became considered those old family rumors, could his father really be buried below his house? There were only one way to find out. Let's get to start digging. Speaking of the rumors regarding his dad finally resting place, Mike told WABC, it does not just come up overnight. It's sometimes that's been talked about for years. He added more detail about the therapy, saying that this is something as we grew up, we heard multiple stories of the situation. And as there was no other clues about his dad's location, Mike pondered even the most outlandish therapies. So guys, what did Mike do? Now Mike is grown. His mother has passed away in 1998. His father disappeared almost 20 years prior to that. So little Mike, he want to find out and get the folded truth of really what happened with his dad. Because you remember, he was like 6 to 8 years old when his dad disappeared. So years and years ago, now he want to know what happened to his dad in real life. So he get to digging. Mike decided that he would search for some answers by digging up the basement shortly after the work begins. However, he was forced to abandon his plans. He was actually digging in the wrong spot. Mike told News 12, I got to the point where it became dangerous because I was afraid my house was going to blow up, so I stopped digging. Still, Mike and his family never gave up on their quest for the truth, and they later resumed to their search for George rumors remained. This time around, they employed a range of experts to help them locate another clue. And all the while, Mike did the hard labor himself, lifting the heavy concrete basement floor piece by piece. He was determined to get to the bottom of this. Amongst the expert Mike enlisted was someone who worked with ground penetrating into the lavender. This used electronic radiation, which scans below grounds to build a picture of what lies below. And when used in the Curls basement, the equipment detached a mystery mass 6-foot underground concrete floor. Could it really be my missing dad? Or was this a red beam hurling? So guys, never underestimate the power of a son and a father bond. Even though the father is past and gone, but his son's going to get to the bottom of this, because when you love your parents, you would do anything necessary to get to the bottom of their situation. And this is what it seemed like Mike is doing. The rest of the kids, I'm pretty sure they probably forgot about the whole situation. But little Mike was only 6 years old. So, this means a lot to him, because he's a kid with unknowing answers, and he don't know what's going on. Following advice from one of his sisters, Mike also turned to a psychological for help. And while as a professional therapist, Mike is certainly a creature of science. He was willing to hear the psychological people out. Their ears, of course, a gut feeling, things like this. He admitted to the New York Post. Speaking to News 12, Mike also revealed that he has seen spirits in his home as a child. My friends came from Georgia, and he said, Mike, I came out of your bathroom and I saw a guy standing there like, a shadow of a man standing and walking down the stairs, he said. However, certainly his status as a spectrum, Mike concluded, but that's not either here or there. They just thought the little boy was tripping, telling lies, saying that he sees spirits. But if you have a dead body in your basement, the spirit will arrive. And it will arrive in different situations. You can have somebody smoke weed and see a spirit. You can have somebody drink and see a spirit. You can have somebody lighting candles and you can see the spirit. So as a child, he seen this spirit when he was little, and everybody thought he was just psychologically crazy. But if there's a dead body underneath and that spirit comes aroused, you never know how you can see it or who will see it. Explaining what happened during the investigation, Mike told the New York Post, there was a guy who came to my basement and he went to the right spot of me and said the energy is here. But at this point, Mike was uncomfortable, suffering from a stroke. He had an adult son, Christopher, and Michael Jr. took over the search instead. And in the late 2018, Mike told News 12 exactly how his son has become involved in this mission. I told my kids, guys, come over here and help me with this situation. You've been watching me do this. You get in there, he explained. I think they felt bad for me because they knew that this was very important to me. Then while Mike's son was apparently digging in the spot that has been picked out by the professionals, they finally made a breakthrough. There, several feet under the ground, Christopher and Michael Jr. found something that they believed to be of as a interest. And they alerted their dad, who came rushing down to the basement from upstairs. Mike later told News 12, it's not easy for me getting up and down the stairs, but despite his limited ability, he was eager to get a closer look. He actually did get into the hole where they were digging. He revealed an upper closet inspection. Mike made a chilling realization that he could have very well be the remains of a human body. God, so the human body has been maybe cut to pieces, put down under the ground and buried. And could that has been his father? Did his mother do this? Did the new husband do this? What's going on, people? Because nobody knows who did what. Later, Mike described the grim sight of the bones to the New York Post. They were twisted in a knot. Weird looking, he explained. It was down and twisted in dirt, not totally exposed either. Mike ensured his siblings were the first to know about the gruesome discovery. And the day afterwards, which intentionally happened to be on Halloween, then they informed the police. The Stafford County Police Department could not immediately confirm the organs of the bone, although they did say they looked like human bones. But the police would need to carry out a DNA testing and potentially analyze dental records before they could say this is a certain or someone bones or could be the bones of George. Even within such confirmation, Mike was convinced that the remains were those of his father. It's going to be my dad, he said. He confidently told the New York Post, "This is my dad. I believe this is my dad." And revealing that he was able to look at the discovery positively, Mike added, "This is going to be a great thing for him to be insured from the place where he did not belong." In fact, the discovery of the unidentified bones left Mike with a feeling of total peace. Elaborating on his emotions at the time, he told News 12, "I felt vindicated for my dad. I felt like he was dancing in heaven. His sense of closure must have been strong enough when experts confirmed the remains indeed belonged to his father." So guys, once the son found the body, he said he felt the spirit of his father dancing in heaven to confirm, to give his son a sense of peace. The police confirmed in December of 2018 officially from Stafford County announced that the skeleton's bones was in fact George. And Michael Capin, a medical expert for the county, told Newsday the DNA was exactly well preserved within the skeleton remains. Even after almost 60 years, 6 decades after George's disappearance, it seems like Mike and his siblings has finally found their father. Mike was so happy to have found answers to some of his questions that he haunted him for so many years. He explains to the News 12, "I took a chance and I have done the whole thing and I found everything I was looking for. And then I will have a whole messed up basement," he added. "I have a messed up basement, but it's worth it. But I'm really glad we found what we were looking for. It put my family at ease," he said. Guys, so if you ever get in a situation when you want to find something that belongs to you and someone took something that belongs to you away, do your researches. Don't be afraid to go forward with what you're looking for. Because in this situation, this been haunting Mike for 60 years. That lets you know his father been telling him, son, do your research. You will find below your feet that I do exist in your life and I have not walked out your life. So if you just look and look, you will find the answers you're looking for. 60 years later, Mike did what he had to do. He found the answers to his father's prayers. And that's what you call a great story, guys. But once again, here at the OG Top Podcast, we get down to the nitty gritty. We talk about real life situations. We talk about greatness. And we may talk about your story one day. So guys, once again, we will be back here at the OG Top Podcast with the next episode. So just tune in about 2 to 3 days and a new episode will be dropping. But I just want to say, guys, be safe, be blessed, stay warm, and have a great holiday here at the OG Top Podcast. Peace.